going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope you're all doing well. We got Ryan back today. Ryan, how's it going?
Good, happy to be here.
All right, so let's jump right in. Let's talk about the NBA, and before we get to the scores, let's talk about Draymond Green. So
Mm.
Draymond, of course, had the incident with Domantas Sabonis in Game 2. He got thrown out, got flagrant 2, and he was just suspended for Game 3. So, what are your thoughts on the whole situation?
I definitely understand why he was suspended. And I believe the league vice president just came out and said that
Yeah.
he's a repeat offender, which I think is the biggest reason, honestly. The move was excessive. And the fact that this stuff happens with Draymond more than anybody else, I can understand why he got suspended for the game. Me personally, from Draymond's point of view, I think he felt somebody grabbing his leg. I think he was pissed off about it happening the game before and earlier in that same game, and that he let his frustrations out. And also, he was just trying to get back in transition. So I think he was naturally just trying to get up, and his foot had to go somewhere, and it was there, which is what he said. Do I think he purposely put a little more weight on it? 100%. I do think he did. Do I think Sabonis was also doing some acting to make it seem worse than it was? I also think that. So I don't think anybody's innocent. I don't think anybody's guilty here. I think both of them did something wrong. I don't think Sabonis deserves to be fined equal of what Draymond. Draymond definitely did something worse. And I understand his suspension personally, though. I think he just should have been fined.
Yeah, the repeat offender thing is like you mentioned. That's the I think the tipping point. I think the NBA league office was on the fence between severe fine and no suspension, and then suspension. They were like right on the line. I think 'cause, like there was a report that came out like a day before, like not even a day, probably several hours prior, that he was not expected to get suspended. I think they're leaning towards let's fine him a decent amount as he has a repeat offender. This is definitely a finable offense. Maybe, but I think because it was postseason, they didn't want to suspend him.
Yeah.
But then they were just like, this guy's got so many priors.
Mm.
I think that just pushed him over to suspension. My view on it is, Sabonis fell on the ground. There was the previous play. I don't even know what the previous play was. It was contact. He falls on the ground, whatever. And Draymond starts running down the court. He's about to like step on him. So he like whoa. So he put his hands up, and I think he hooked his leg, and he hooked his leg. I don't think even on purpose, but then he didn't really let go. And then Draymond was like, "Hey yo," and he could have. He definitely went like did a little bit,
Mm.
little stomp. Did he like do a freaking Seth Rollins kind of stomp?
No, it
No,
wasn't a curb stomp.
didn't do it. Wasn't a curb stomp to the point where like it's like he assaulted him. But like he said, it wasn't like he just placed his foot on his sternum. He definitely put a little bit of force behind
Mm.
it, and he could have been like, "Hey, yo, yo, yo," and just like done one of those. And in that case, you're probably being like, "Hey, Draymond for once did the right thing," and maybe Sabonis might be getting suspended. You don't know.
Yeah.
And and this guy has so many priors.
The fact it took this long for them to make the decision was surprising. That it did
Yeah,
that because I thought if they were going to suspend him, it was going to be the next morning. It took what, a full day, a little more,
yeah.
and then they come
This
down with
didn't
it
come down till
this morning, right? I think
it was last night. I
last night.
remember.
Okay.
It was last night. I think it was like it may have been maybe beginning of the Suns game, maybe a little bit before.
Okay.
So it took them almost 24 hours, I think, to
Mm.
like you said. I thought by the time we would wake up, they would say he's getting fined and
Yeah.
suspended, no suspension.
Which tells me they went back and forth on it. That
Yeah,
it took this long.
they probably like going back and forth. I think you're right. They just like they're both guilty. It's the playoffs, but they're like
Draymond's been here before.
yeah, they're like it's also Draymond. So like and like I don't have a problem with them using the priors. Like if you get a
Yeah, it's reasonable.
let's say you get arrested for a crime, you do a couple years in jail. You commit a crime again,
You get 4.
you're gonna get more time
Mm.
if, as a repeat offender. Like that's just how it works.
Mm.
Like you can't don't make the same mistake twice, kind of thing. So
And I originally thought Sabonis was just like shielding his head when he went down, and Draymond's leg just so happened to be there. But when Draymond was like trying to get away, there's a bit where it looks like Sabonis grabs at it again. So I do think Sabonis was purposely trying to stop him. So I do think Draymond was provoked. Was that a reasonable response? No.
yeah, like I think he like tried to protect himself because Draymond's running back down the floor and he's on the ground because he had fell on the ground in the previous play. Maybe there was some contact, whatever. It's basketball, it's playoff basketball. and Draymond's running back. He's about to kick him in the face. And he goes, "Whoa!" So he almost like caught his leg, but then he just didn't. I think he was a little bit pissed at Draymond. Maybe he thought Draymond was, and then doing it on purpose or whatever. But he didn't let go. But Draymond, I think, just overreacted, and he put. My thing is, Sabonis is like 6'10", 250, 260, and he was writhing in pain on the ground from the stomp, and he might not even play Game 3. I think he will, but it's.
I think he will.
But
I think his X-rays came back clean. They said.
Yeah, but like, so my thing is like, if a guy who's 6'10", gotta be 250, 260, and in obviously very good physical shape, is writhing in pain from that, and might had to come out of the game, might not play the next game. It had to be some force behind it. It had to be. I mean, Draymond's also.
Oh, it hurt. It was all his weight because he like went up off of his left, so it was everything coming down on the right foot.
Yeah, I mean, Draymond's not. He's probably 6'8" himself.
A big fella too.
He's a bigger fella too, and obviously he's in very good shape, like all these basketball players are, besides a couple, Zion, at times, and maybe like Ben Simmons and Mitch Robinson, but 99% of these guys are in the best physical shape as you could possibly get. So,
and also it made it worse that Draymond wasn't trying to say, "Oh, here's what happened." He started yelling with fans. I can understand him yelling at the refs. He does that all the time. But getting into it with the fans, that's a bad look. And that's the reason players got suspended so much for Mouse in the Palace. And the way they were arguing, I thought it might be part 2 coming up in this game. So I'm excited to see if Draymond has to play in Sacramento again, if and when they do. Well, they actually probably will, because I don't think the Kings are going to sweep them. So that'll be awesome. That'll be an incredible atmosphere. It already is. But then you add this Draymond element to it. That's going to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and that's another thing I don't think people are looking at. It's not like he tried to help the guy up or on the bench he was just like sitting there minding his own business, kind of like looking like oh crap. He's joking with the fan. He's like clapping, almost like he was happy.
Yeah.
And then
I think he did like an AI ear thing too.
Yeah, he did
like,
that. And then when they get into flagrant 2, he's going to the ref. He's like really upset with the ref, and then he does his patent like. Whenever he gets ejected, every 3 games basically, he just like he skips to the locker room all cocky, like that. Also, I think they looked at that like it's not like he tried to help him up or like he didn't try to. I mean, I cannot imagine what the Kings fans were saying to him. I'm not gonna even try to guess.
Yeah.
They probably was not whatever they said. I probably can't even say on the show.
No, probably not the best idea.
But the whole thing, like, I don't mind players go if the fans say something really over the line. I don't mind players going back. They have the right to do that.
Yeah.
But until we don't know what they said, so I don't think. I mean, I know the rap from Golden State accused the Kings fans of something.
Oh, okay.
Like the racial thing. First of all, his name is E40. I've never heard of this dude.
E40's a rapper, isn't he?
He is. I never heard of him.
I know the name. I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, like they're like, oh yeah, E40 because I'm like, who? I'm like E40, like the person? What? And like I'm hearing people say like, oh yeah, he's really good in the community. There's no dirt on. I'm like, cool, but like, who is he? Like, like, is he an actual rapper? Is he like?
And first, I only know McNeill because he's friends with Robert Kraft. So
I know McNeill because I saw I got a notification that some famous dude was picked, like Kevin Hart was picking him up from jail.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
he's a big Philly guy.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But yeah, Draymond after the stomp, he didn't do anything to help his case.
No,
with his actions there. So he's out for 1 game. The Warriors kind of look cooked right now. I mean, they're a great home team, horrible away team. They don't have home court. If it does go 7 in Sacramento, I don't see them winning this game.
Yeah, and like this year, like they've struggled without Draymond. Draymond, I do think is overrated all the time. I hear people putting him in the conversation for like greatest defensive player ever, Hall of Fame. I think that's a bit of a stretch.
I think he's a Hall of Famer personally, but I can understand a case that he's not.
I think because you look at him, he's won defensive player of the year twice.
Twice, yeah. And 1 year he felt he was robbed.
Twice. He's been all defense a few times. He's been all-star 2 or 3 times, and then the 4 rings. Like, I think the only reason he was even giving him 12 to 14 points a game because he had Durant, Steph, and Clay on the court.
That's fair.
No one, you're not going Draymond.
Yeah.
It's literally impossible. You're not going Draymond and leaving Durant open or Steph open. Those 3 guys were in their prime, and then KD leaves, and then Steph and Clay get older, they're in that lineup, and now Draymond's giving you 5 points a game. I feel like if you put him on another team, I think he could have still been two-time defensive player of the year.
Mhm.
He could have been all defense a couple of times. Could have been an all-star a couple of times. But if you take away his rings, he's Brian Bowen in my eyes.
I think that's fair, but I think every great championship team needs an instigator.
Absolutely.
And for a guy like that who has been the instigator for 6 teams that have gone to the finals, 4 teams that have won it, I think he's one of those players who you can't tell the story of the NBA in this era without him. He's very intrinsic to the league that has been over these last 10 years. And I think even next season he's going to go to the Lakers, and he's probably still going to be on a very relevant team for the rest of his career.
That's true, and that's a good point. I don't think he's on Golden State next year.
Neither do I.
I think he's on.
Even before this incident,
Mhm.
I think just because of money,
Yeah.
just the new CBA also, I don't think they felt like they had to pay him and I understand you want to pay 23-year-old Jordan Poole before you want to pay, how old is he, 33-year-old
Something
Draymond
like
Green
that,
or whatever.
around that.
So that makes perfect sense to me why they would want to do that. You're losing a key piece and a key contributor and a good voice in the locker room. But just in terms of product on the floor, it makes sense why you want to go in a different direction. And this stomp kind of further, it just brings up another incident where Steve Kerr's sitting there at the press conference and he's saying, I don't want to have to deal with this next year. I don't want to have to deal with this for the next 4 years when I know the guy's going to start to decline too on the court.
Yeah, it's one thing. First of all, he's a guy he's older. He's not the same player. He's still a good defender, but not an elite defender, and he can't give you anything offensively.
How many Defensive Player of the Year votes did he get? Like maybe one third place vote. So
he's not like he can't play defense. He's still a good defender. He's certainly one of the better defenders in the league, but he is not going to be competing for Defensive Player of the Year awards anymore. No. He is not an elite defender anymore, and he's not giving you anything offensively. He's there basically to play defense and talk trash, and and be that leader in the locker room. Which does he still have value? Yes.
Yeah.
Someone will pick. He deserves to be picked up. Somebody. He could probably be someone's. Whether to be as a starter or maybe coming off the bench, he can be like he can still help you on the defensive end, and can help you. You know, he obviously he's won 4 championships. He's been to the finals 5-6 times, whatever it is. And also, if I'm Steve Kerr, I'm done with this dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're thankful for what he's done, but you're done.
If looking at it, Draymond at one point said that. At the trade deadline in 2016, apparently he was not getting along with Steve Kerr. He thought he was going to get traded. So he actually was crying because he did not want to get traded. And then, of course, he ended up staying. And he cost his team a championship, in my opinion, in 2016.
I agree.
The Warriors are up 3-1. I mean, that team is incredible.
Oh, yeah. You're 73-9.
73-9. I mean, that just tells the whole story. They're rolling. They're up 3-1. And then Draymond kicks whoever. I don't know.
I can't even remember who it was. Yeah.
Tristan Thompson, whoever it was. All right, that was just my Apple Watch.
Oh, okay. She scared me.
Yeah, she does it a lot. It's annoying. Anyway,
I thought Cybernet took over.
Yeah. So they're rolling. They had the best team ever on paper.
Yeah.
They're not the best team ever. You can't tell me people are like, oh, LeBron was the best team ever. No, we didn't. They didn't win a championship. How are you the best team ever if they didn't win a championship?
I agree with that. It's the same. I have the same feeling about. I'm a Patriot fan. People say, oh, the 07 Patriots are one of the greatest teams ever. It's like, yeah, but they didn't win it. So I can probably name you. I can name you 57 teams that are better because they won the Super Bowl. That's at least how I view it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's an amazing team, no doubt. Like they didn't win a championship. How are you the best but you didn't win a championship?
Exactly. Yeah.
But but anyway. He cost that. Of course, Brian Draymond was an all-star player, so you lose him. You lose the game.
It was Game 5 in Cleveland, right? That he was suspended for.
Yeah, and then Game 6 he comes back. Cleveland's got LeBron and Kyrie had scored 40 each, and they went crazy. So they win Game 6, and then of course Game 7 they slipped by. LeBron had the block on Iguodala.
Yeah.
Kyrie hit the big shot, and then Kevin Love had the big stop.
Yeah.
So something that goes unnoticed. Shout out to Kevin Love.
Okay.
With the stop at the end of that game in Game 7.
Okay, the fact. Oh, was he guarding Curry actually?
On that possession, he was.
Okay, yes, I think I do remember, and it ended up being a turnover out of bounds.
Yeah.
Okay, I do remember this now. Yeah, that's true. Not a lot of people bring that up.
Yeah.
I just had to remember that from when it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then this series, this series they probably were. I didn't see having win the series either way going in. I had Kings in 6, but now, I mean, at the end of the day. Golden State still it's the defending champs. They have still won
Yeah.
4 championships in 8 years. Stephen Curry has been there for all of them. Klay Thompson's been there for all of them. Draymond Green has been there for all of them. All three of us were major parts of those championship teams, especially Stephen Clay.
Yeah. Even in advanced age, some things don't change.
Yeah, so like, and the Kings, as great of a story as it is, as good of a team as this is a good basketball team. They were the 3rd best team in the West for a reason. At the end of the day, they have not been in the playoffs in 17 years. The Warriors are so much more experienced. At the very least, this is a team that can win their home games and at least probably force a long series. You're down 2-0. Now you go back home. The mindset could easily be, guys, we're in our home building. Take care of business. Win them both. We go back to Sacramento. We grab 1 in Sacramento. Game 7, it'll be anything happens. And Game 7 at home, Golden State is gotta be ultra confident.
Yeah, if you get to Game 7, anybody can win it.
And they can win it. And Golden State Game 7 at home, there's no way they're not ultra confident that game.
Oh,
I don't know how you're not. How many times have they done this the last decade? A zillion. And now Draymond is suspended. And if that now it's an uphill battle to win this game. And if you go down 3-0, the series is over.
Yeah,
the series is over. It's winning in Sacramento for them because they're such a bad road team, and because of how hard it is to play in Sacramento this year, because of the fans, the atmosphere, especially in the postseason. The beam. I can't imagine walking into the stadium. You lost. You're just like, oh my god, like. If they need to take, in my opinion, if they don't take both and go and take the series is over. If they go down,
100%. Then it's 5.
If they go,
that Game 5 in Sacramento, they finish.
If they go sucker back Sacramento down 3-1, the series is over.
100%,
They're done, and
100%.
now that's a very real possibility. So you could argue, Draymond cost them a shot to come back in the series. So at this point, I think it's time for them to go their separate ways, and Draymond goes somewhere else.
It just makes sense. And I am very interested what the crowd is going to be like in Golden State, because Golden State doesn't have great fans. I think it's just a lot of people who are there. It's a very wine and cheese crowd, at least from I remember last year's playoff run. And Sacramento has a lot of dedicated fans. I think they got fans who will travel to Golden State. So I'm interested to see if it's 50-50, 60-40. I think there's going to be a lot of Kings support in that building, I feel.
It's not like, they're from two, it's like it's the Knicks playing the Warriors, where they're on separate sides of the country. I don't know how far Sacramento is from San Francisco.
I bet you could take a train, though.
I am abysmal at geography. Okay. That's why I became a sports comm major. But it can't be horrendous. California is like a gigantic state. I believe it's the top in the big states in the world.
I think Sacramento's a bit north.
Okay,
of Golden State. So
considering how low those Kings fans, I think.
Let me look it up. Let's settle this.
Yeah, well, let's settle this. It can't be that far. It's not talking about like Rhode Island. Going from one city in Rhode Island to another where you're from, I'm sure doesn't take that long because Rhode Island is a very small state.
Oh, you can get to anywhere in an hour.
Yeah. California is a gigantic state. Everything's big there. The egos.
It's 72 miles between Golden State and Sacramento, so a drivable distance.
That's not that far.
No, not at all.
That's what?
Especially if you're a Kings fan who hasn't seen a playoff game in your life.
Think about I'm 21. You're 2021.
Yeah.
So if we were Kings fans, we would have never seen them in the playoffs. Literally.
No, because when was the last time they were in the playoffs? 06 or something?
17 years ago. Yeah, 06.
I didn't know how to pick my nose.
Yeah, I was 4 years old. I know how to wipe my backside at that age. You got people, you got these college students in Sacramento who have never seen their team in the playoffs. Literally, have never seen them.
Yeah.
Kind of like how my dad, who's in his 50s, has never seen the Jets even in the Super Bowl. He was born in '69. He's probably a couple months old when they were in it, and they haven't been back since. They've never seen their team in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's almost similar to how our entire lives, until a few months ago, Tom Brady was in the NFL. And not just in the NFL, winning Super Bowls in the NFL.
I think it's why this generation thinks LeBron's a GOAT, because they never saw Jordan. They didn't see Kobe till the very end.
And especially people our age, when we started getting into basketball, around 10 years old, LeBron was the best. Yeah, and he had already been the best for a few years, and then he was the best for 10 more years. So,
and even now, he's still one of the better players in the league, even at 38 years old. As much as I hate LeBron, I can admit that. And
I'm a Celtics fans, and we don't really like LeBron, but Knicks fans, you guys really despise the guy.
I also me specifically, did not like him at all.
Okay.
And like, but yeah, I think it's just like because Jordan, obviously, you missed all of Jordan. Maybe you
Yeah.
saw maybe on the Wizards when you were like, not
I
able
mean,
to
I was
walk.
2, I think, when he finished
Yeah,
his
like
Wizards years.
yeah, we couldn't even walk.
Yeah.
We didn't start getting into until Kobe was literally at the end. The image we have of Kobe is him holding his leg being injured.
Yeah,
And
our
then
one good Kobe memory is his final game.
yeah,
His 60
his
point
last,
game. We
yeah,
don't, at least I mean, some people maybe have vivid memories when they were 8 or 9. I don't have memories of prime Kobe, like
I
championship
do
Kobe.
not.
Neither. Yeah.
So these young guys see LeBron's and like, oh, he's got to be the greatest of all time. They don't realize if you compare him to Jordan, to me, it's not even a conversation. And then even
I
Kobe.
agree. Yeah, I think LeBron is 2 in my book, but I still think he's a decent amount behind Jordan.
Yeah,
I think Jordan's in another level.
Yeah, I have LeBron a lot lower than that, but he is in the top 10.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's go over some scores from the NBA. So let's pick the Hawks, 112-99. Tatum, 29-10. Deontay at 29 in a loss.
Yeah, Derek White was awesome in this game, too.
Yes,
he was all over the
White
place.
adds 26.
Yeah, I think he's had like 27 and 26 in these first 2 games. He's been absolutely awesome for them. And everybody in this game played pretty well. In both games, though, they got big leads, and then the Hawks kind of climbed back in it. They were up 20 at one point in I think in the third quarter, and then it was an 8-point game in the fourth, and the Hawks were really threatening. But the Celtics turned it back up. It took them 2 minutes to go back up by 20 again. But on the road, that's going to be a lot harder to do because let's say the Hawks get within 8. On the road, now they're going to get within 2. So it's a lot of how they respond defensively on the road I'm excited for. I still think the Hawks are going to win 1 game at home, and the Celtics are probably going to finish this back in Boston in 5 games. I think the Hawks are a fun little team, but I think they're dysfunctional, and they're just not. The Celtics are just better top to bottom. They have a better bench, and obviously their stars are on another level. So
yeah, they're just overall better. I thought going in Boston would sweep the Hawks. Hawks are so.
I think it's still on the table.
Yeah, Hawks are so inconsistent, and you got the missing coaching change. You got Quinn Snyder in there. They just throw him in there. Obviously.
Who I think he's all right, but I mean, what did he have to work with? 20 games with this team or something? Yeah.
Yeah, the pieces really don't fit together. I think in Atlanta.
Yeah, I still don't think they've figured out how they're going to use Young and Murray together necessarily.
Yeah.
And John Collins. 2 years ago, they made the Eastern Conference Finals, correct?
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be a star.
Same.
I thought he was awesome. He has not taken the next step whatsoever in his career. He's been a really disappointing player. He's still like a solid player, but I thought he was going to be awesome for them, but not really.
Yeah, hasn't really worked out that way, and now you're almost that Trey might be getting traded, and when they asked him, he basically said, "If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't."
Yeah.
It seems like almost it's like.
And those rumors have been swirling around him for around a year now.
Yeah,
which tells you the kind of guy he is. He's good, but he's not great enough that you have to keep him.
Yeah, there was actually they did an anonymous poll. They polled all the players, and the Athletic came out. That was all like coach you most want to play for, coach you least like to play for, who's the GOAT. 58% said Jordan or LeBron still, and they said who is the most overrated player in the league, and the majority said Trae Young.
Wow, I don't think players enjoy playing against him, too, because you may let up 25 to him, but he gets 12 of them at the line because he's very good at getting calls, which is an art in its own right, but still it can be a very cheap way. And he hasn't been great in this series. He hasn't been getting to the line as much. The Hawks shot 8 free throws this past game. Trae Young should be shooting 8 free throws himself per game in this series, especially when you're playing Boston. And I think last game he made like 2 threes. He's only been shooting like 4 or 5 threes a game. He just hasn't been exerting himself and shooting to the level they need him for him to produce. The volume just isn't there. Yeah,
and so I think Trae, honestly, he has not been that great in the postseason overall. That one series against the Knicks 2 years ago, he was fantastic. Outside of that series, and maybe the Philly series, he really has been spectacular. These are his last 8 playoff games. 9 of 22, 2 of 8 from 3. 5 of 18 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. 2 of 12 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3. 3 of 11 from the field. 3 of 10 from 3. 6 of 14 from the field. 2 of 6 from 3. 10 of 20 from the field. 2 of 10 from 3. 1 of 12 from the field. 0 of 7 from 3. 4 of 17 from the field. 0 of 6 from 3.
I mean, like, a lot of times with great players, if they take a lot of shots to get going, I can live with it. If their like field goal percentage isn't that great. But for a guy like that who you have to make your threes, you have to shoot a lot of threes and make them, to see some like 0 and 6s in there, some 2 and 7s, He's a guy, especially in the playoffs, he has to be making 5, 6 threes a night.
Yes.
And because that's his game. He's capable of that. This is the guy who really started shooting from the logo.
Yeah.
He changed the game in a way like that took it kind of furthered what Steph did. And I mean, step back, side steps, should be able to get his shot off, and especially in the playoffs, he has to shoot better than that, straight up.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm a Knicks fan. There's no way I can like Trae Young.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
For obvious reasons, but even like I don't even have that much of a problem with what he did in New York. If I was an opposing player and I played like that against the Knicks as much as everyone, because everyone wanted the Knicks to win, I can't say I wouldn't do the same thing with the whole bowing down thing. I don't even have that much of a problem with it. Did I want to punch him in the face when I saw it? Of course I did.
Yeah.
But like the dude played his ass off.
Yeah, he did.
He did. But
he kind of earned his right to do it. When you win, you get to be a little goofy.
It was like it was Gallinari doing it, and he had a decency over he's the fourth option on the team doing it.
Yeah,
Trey's he averaged like 35 a night over 5 games.
Yeah, and it's the same as like when he like all the gimmicks or whatever you want to call it. When it's like the same when the Angel Reese thing. It's like when you win, you get to do what you want.
Yeah, exactly. Like people are like, oh, when Caitlin Clark, Caitlin Clark's is the best player. Like, cool. Caitlin, you got. Having fingers, you have 10. I don't see a ring on it. Why?
Yeah, no ring.
Andrews got a ring.
Yeah,
so
you get to win. If you win, do whatever you want.
Exactly. Yeah, but yeah. So like, Trey really hasn't been that great in the postseason, and like you said, he's a guy. His game is he can shoot the lights out. He can make a shot from any spot on the floor.
Any night he could drop 40.
Yeah,
he's that kind of threat.
And the problem with him, he's similar to Luka. Luka will give you 50, but he'll give up 30. Trey might give you 40, but he's giving up 25.
Yeah. And
I'm not even blaming him. I mean, the dude's like 6'1". It's hard to defend when you're that high, especially in today's league.
Yeah, and he was second in assists this year. He was only a hair behind Harden in leading the league in assists. And even in this series, he hasn't been creating for guys. I mean, game 1, Bogdanovich was horrible. He put up zeros through like 3 quarters. DeJounte Murray, I still don't know how well. He had played very well in game 2, actually. But he's a good facilitator, but he still hasn't found the balance of when he needs to pick his shots correctly, get better shot selection, and when he needs to facilitate. Something that I think like Tatum has matured very well when because there'd be games a few years ago where he'd go 3 for 17. There's games now where he goes 3 for 9 and he says, all right, it's not working for me tonight. I'm gonna get Al going, I'm gonna get Smart going, I'm gonna get other guys going because that's what's best for the team. And he understands that better. Trey maybe needs to understand that, or maybe just needs a little bit better talent around him. I don't know. Yeah, and
I think you look at their team, it's weird because you look at their team, you're like, this team could be a 5 or 6 at least in the East.
I agree.
You got Trey and Deontay in the backcourt, which is scary. You got John Collins. You know what he can do. They got a lot. Even DeAndre Hunter is a guy who we know. We saw what he did at Virginia. We know what his potential is.
Capella's huge. Okongwu off the bench is really good.
Bogdanovich we just mentioned.
Yeah. They got the pieces there. They just need a lot of guys to take one step up.
Yeah. And
they haven't really done it in 2 years. And they also let a guy like they had Kevin Huerter on the team 2 years ago, correct?
Yeah.
That was a big piece that I think of a glue guy that didn't work.
Make any sense. I don't get why you traded them, honestly.
No, I don't either.
That didn't make any sense. This team really wasn't built very well. Deontay Murray. Deontay is a scoring guard. To me, it seems like you got 2 scoring guards. I think Trey also is a great passer. I mean, he averaged 26 and 10 assists.
Yeah.
I feel like if they had more of a better fit would be Deontay Murray is an incredible player, but if they had a guy who was a little more pass first and a little more defensive minded because of how bad this team is defensively.
Yeah.
I mean, Trey, like I said, he'll give you 4, but he'll give up 27, 28 more. It would fit better. I don't think that's a great fit, those two together, honestly.
Yeah, like, I think DeJounte Murray is a better player, but who would I rather fit with Trae Young, Murray, or Mikal Bridges? I'd probably go with Mikal Bridges.
Probably, yeah, and just like, but Donovan is, he's definitely an underrated player. He's a very good spot shooter.
Oh, he's good.
And then, I like Capella, great, fantastic rebounder. The fact that Houston traded them is beyond me. And, but just like, this team isn't really built well. I feel like you have a lot of individually great players.
But a question of how are they going to gel?
Yeah, like for example, the Knicks on paper, you look at this team and like this team could beat a Donovan Mitchell-led team, and that team around Donovan Mitchell is also very good. But this team has a shot to beat this team, really? Because I feel like they all played together as a team. For example, Game 1, they really didn't play very well. You know, Brunson he had 27. He was Jalen Brunson. Randall had like 19 and 10. He was okay. Quickly didn't shoot the ball well. Arch didn't shoot the ball well. He never does, but he didn't shoot the ball well. But they played together as a group, which is why I think they've had the success this year. Like, like Atlanta, the guys like Trey's gonna give you his 30 and 8 assists. Deontay's been giving you his 25, 27 points. You know, Capella's is grabbing his 12, is getting his 12 and 15 every night.
And they killed him on the offensive boards at Game 2.
Yes.
And Capella was a huge part of that. And
yeah, he had. Yeah, like in the game against Miami, I came home from work. I turned on the game. Justin, who you've all seen on here, he's a Heat fan. Of course, he wasn't happy that they lost. I come home and they're getting killed, so he's obviously not happy. And then I see a thing on the screen. Clint Capela's 21 rebounds. It was like 3 minutes left in the game. I'm like, 21?
Yeah.
It's not even over yet. What? But like, they have a lot of individually really good players, especially Trae Young, but I still think they fit together well.
Yeah, and even if you could blame the GM. I think the GM got good players in there. It's a matter of coaching.
Yeah.
And I think Nate McMillan was a good coach. I think he probably just didn't get along with the best player. And when you don't get along with the best player, that develops distrust within the entire locker room.
I mean,
so there's no way they can gel when the locker room is dysfunctional to begin with.
Yeah, like last year with the Lakers, I didn't think that was anything on Frank Vogel, and Vogel didn't.
He did everything they told him to do.
He didn't see eye with LeBron. In fact, LeBron probably, you could argue, had more influence over the team than he did.
100% agree.
He certainly didn't get along with Russell Westbrook.
No.
And he didn't have a job. I mean, yes, the team didn't do it, but like, look at that team.
I mean, it was LeBron, AD, Westbrook, and then a bunch of fossils or G Leaguers.
Yeah, it was LeBron who battled injuries. It was Anthony Davis for 12 games, and then he took one wrong step and was out for 14 years. Russ, I don't know what he was doing. Russ was putting up like concert dates, 3 of 19, 2 of 18, and then just a bunch of guys who are like, why even the league? Like why is Dennis Schroeder still in the NBA? Why is he in the NBA? I don't understand. Austin Reeves, who wasn't as good as he was this year.
Yeah.
I can't even name them. Mid-season, they pick up Winging Gabriel, and they're all excited. I'm like, I forgot he was in the league.
Yeah, but Pelinka deserved, I think, most of the blame for putting that roster together. But this last trade deadline, I mean, the proof is working out in this playoff so far. Rui Hachimura, Schroeder, D'Angelo Russell. I mean, they got players in there who are already making a difference for them in the playoffs, and that's the reason they're a 7 seed. Who a lot of people are picking them to beat a 2.
Yeah, obviously LeBron and AD are healthy. You get first of all, Russ was never a good fit. The Lakers,
not at all.
They needed a guard that could shoot. So
he could never play with LeBron.
That was never gonna work. Like when they got him, I laughed. I thought it was funny.
Yeah,
I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, all right, maybe because if LeBron and AD together, maybe they grab a 5. I'm like, this team isn't making out the second round. And then of course things tumbled and they ended up missing the plans, and then I was laughing. I was laughing my ass off.
And I remember apparently they went to LeBron and said, you can have Westbrook or Buddy Hield. And he said Westbrook because he was the known commodity, even though they probably would have made the playoffs if they just went and got Buddy Hield.
I mean, yes, is Westbrook a better player than Buddy Hield? Yes. I mean, just look at the resumes, obviously. It's not even a competition. But fit-wise, which is what really matters, Buddy Hield probably fits it better than Westbrook.
I totally agree.
So that was never going to work.
I am happy Westbrook's having this success with the Clippers so far, though.
Same, yeah. So that was never going to work. And then now you get D'Lo. And even when they picked up Pat Bev, yes, trading him for Taylor Horton-Tucker. I mean, Taylor Horton-Tucker is one of the worst players I've ever seen. He doesn't do anything well. But Pat Bev also doesn't make a ton of sense. You got a Lakers team. They didn't really need...
He doesn't feel like a Laker at all. He really doesn't. I like Patrick Beverley, but the Lakers just aren't a team that has a dog like that. No. A really tough guy. And my favorite players in the league are like that. Pat Bev just doesn't fit with the Lakers.
He does not. First of all, they need a shooter. Pat Bev.
Yeah, Pat Bev ain't a shooter.
Whenever I see him try to shoot, I just this wave of depression just comes over me.
I might as well just be watching Joakim Noah shoot free throws. Well, that's why it was so huge that Reeves kind of came up the way
Yeah.
he did this year because that gave them a spot up guy. LeBron's going to be able to drive, and now Russell as well are going to be able to drive, get one move, and then draw a double. Who's going to be open in the corner? Who's going to be open at the wing?
Yeah.
Both those guys have been able to knock down shots.
Yeah, and like so now that trade because I think people they went from Tim Tucker to Pat Bev. All right, yes, that's an upgrade, but that's like that's like saying oh I need a partner for this project, and it's a 4-year-old who can't even walk, and then the smartest kid in your class. Like, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Upgrade. I think I'm better than Tim Tucker.
Yeah.
But like it wasn't a good fit. Like, first of all, Lakers are already good defensively. They ain't really need another defender, and they need another shooter. And Pat Bev is not a shooter.
No, he is not.
No. So that never. So like you go from D'Lo to Pat Bev, much better fit. D'Lo's a scoring guard that can shoot, much better fit, much better player.
And Pat Bev also is kind of personality that I don't think works with LeBron. I think LeBron runs a pretty tight ship with his franchises. I don't like. I know they didn't get along with Westbrook. I don't think Pat Bev they got along great either.
Yeah, and just like there's enough egos in that building. LeBron,
right. Yeah.
LeBron. Even AD, who I think is a cool guy. He's he's a star. He tends to with all his injuries, he does talk about a good amount.
He's a star every couple weeks.
Yeah, at the time you had Russ, we all know about his ego. So like now you had another one that was never gonna work. So now you get Russ out of there, which is never gonna work.
Yeah.
So they believe they bought him out.
Yeah, I don't think they got anything for him.
Yeah, they tried to trade him. People were like, "I'm not trading this guy. He's making $4.7 million to go 2 of 12.
Yeah.
I'm not trading for him." They got him out of there. Thank goodness. They go from Pat up to D'Lo, much better fit, much better player. They go from Thomas Bryant to Jared Vanderbilt as your backup big man, which is an upgrade.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's better.
And then they brought in Malik Beasley as
he's
well.
Been good.
Which is also a good move. So you had him, you had Rui Hachimura. I mean, those two, they haven't shot as well overall, but like Rui Hachimura stepped up in game one. He puts up what 29, 27. Reeves has stepped up.
Yeah,
so
and
I
think the Lakers are going to win the series. Will that stuff happen again though? Rui Hachimura is probably never going to have 29 points
again
for the rest of his life. I don't know, but
I think if Ja is healthy, I think Memphis can still win the series. But if he is like he might miss game 2. I'm hearing he's getting better. He may be able to play. He might not. But if he has to miss multiple games this series, the Lakers win the series.
Is it Ja's shooting hand?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And if he,
I thought it would be his trigger finger. Sorry.
yeah, exactly. But let's say if he's 50% and he's gonna really struggle from the field, I think that's gonna be tough, and I think the Lakers probably still win the series.
Yeah, and I mean that'll be interesting though because the Lakers will come in probably with just by having LeBron, you have a lot of experience. I'll be comfortable saying the Lakers have experience just because of that, and they would then play the 3-seeded Kings in all likelihood. I mean, I really like the Kings, but that could be an interesting series there, honestly.
That'll be a good series. I think Sacramento wins the series.
They just got more to prove, more fire.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I don't know if LeBron cares, honestly.
In that situation, he would have to carry a team for like 2-3 straight games. I don't know if he has that in him anymore.
He's still a top 15 player in the league. And
easily.
And kudos to him for still being able to average 25, 26 at 38 years old. That's why he's at least a top 10 player, if not a top 5 player of all time. But he can no longer carry a team.
Yeah, I think the last time we really saw it was the last time he won a playoff series in front of fans was 2018 against a rookie Tatum, and that stretch he had, that game 6 and 7, where he beat the Celtics, it was impeccable, and that was and especially that team of J.R. Smith and George Hill, just a bunch of useless Cavaliers. And that was the last time we saw him carry a team.
Yeah.
The LA career, we haven't really seen it. Even when they won it in the bubble, AD was great. He didn't have to carry the team. So I think they'll reach a point this season where he'll have to do it. I'll be interested to see if he still can.
Yeah, and also there's another thing. Do we really trust AD to stay healthy?
No.
Come on.
Justin said it last week that I think because he picked the Grizzlies, I think, and he said I think they're going to play one game and AD is going to get hurt. He had to leave the game in game 1. He came back and was fine, but he still had to. He went down and had to leave.
Okay, let's say John misses a couple of games. What if in game 2 AD gets hurt? He's seriously hurt. by seriously here I mean like he jumps and then comes down. He jumps and like breaks his arm somehow.
Yeah.
And has to miss the rest of the playoffs. Do the Lakers win the series? Yet? I don't know if they do.
I don't think they have any real backup plan for that. I don't think there's any way they can truly recover if AD goes down again.
Yeah, like they have a little bit more depth now after you pick up the guys they picked up, but it.
But still, then we're looking at another carry LeBron situation.
And I just don't think LeBron can't carry a team anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that'll be a fun series.
It is gonna be a fun series.
I like the Grizz, but I actually like the Lakers better.
We shall see what happens. Like I said, I think if Ja's healthy, I think Memphis wins the series.
I agree with that. If Ja is himself, they win it.
If Ja's healthy and himself, I think Memphis wins. If he's either not healthy, doesn't play, or he's like half himself, then I think the Lakers win the series.
Yeah, I'd go with the Lake Show.
And if AD gets hurt, now the floodgates are open. All right, so Cap beat the Knicks 107-90. Garland adds 32. Brunson on 20. Knicks couldn't hit any shots last night. Like they got. First of all, I love you, Thibs, but why your stars in the game? I know Randall. He said that Randall said to him that he wanted to try to get some rhythm, but as the coach, you gotta say, look, dude, I know that you want to play. And, I know that's the identity of our team. Every Thibs team, he plays his guys 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes. He's always done that. He did it in Chicago. He did it in Minnesota. He does it in New York. Wherever he's been, he's always going to do it. That's just how he is. But you got to put your arm around the guy and be like, look, we're down 20 plus 3 minutes. This game is over. Randall just came off an injury. Say, we're going back to the Garden. The series tied. It could be a lot worse. We need you. I'm gonna sit you down, and we're gonna regroup. We're gonna go to New York, and we're gonna take care of business. That's what he should have said.
I agree.
Don't throw him out there. I mean, like the Jared Allen thing, I didn't really think it was necessary. I don't know why he committed that foul.
You wouldn't use the word dirty though.
No, not dirty. Yeah, first of all, no one really plays defense anymore, so I appreciate Jared Allen actually trying to play defense. I don't got a problem with Jared Allen. I think he's a great player. I think he's obviously underrated and seems like a great guy.
Yeah.
And he's an underrated piece of what Cleveland does. But like you're up 20 with 2 minutes left. Why are you committing a hard foul?
That's fair.
I don't understand. It was just unnecessary.
As a Knicks fan, do you view these first two games in Cleveland and say, okay, mission accomplished. We won one. We got home court.
Somewhat, yes. If they went down 2-0 against Cleveland, I would be very nervous. I thought if we get a split, this is a series that probably goes 7.
I still feel that.
Yeah, so like if we got a split, like all right, that's good enough. That being said, in game 1, you got the Cavs who have 2 7-footers and are getting out rebounded. Knicks didn't even shoot well in game 1 either, and they still won the game. I was like, all right, if we play, if they put in, they basically won playing a B game. Like if they bring their A game 2, I think they can definitely win the game. And if they go to the Garden up 2-0, I feel wonderful.
Yeah.
Series is far from over. They still got to take at least one game.
Yeah,
but like that's not hard to do.
Going back to the Garden though, I look at that and I say, are the Knicks going to be tough to beat there? Yes. I have a hard time seeing Cleveland lose 2 in a row. I think this is going to be 2-2 going back to Cleveland.
Yeah, like I saw Cleveland at home is actually really, really tough. I believe they're like 31-10 at home. They're like a game under 500 on the road. They're not a great road team.
Okay,
they're not like the Warriors who have like 8 road wins.
Yeah.
But like so, they can take 2 in New York. I think they can. Will they? That might be tough to do. The Cavs losing 2 in a row. I'm not sure if Donovan Mitchell will let that happen.
Yeah, I think he'll have at least one monster game if he needs to, like a game 4 game where he drops 40.
Yeah, so, but I am happy that they got game 1, and also game 2. I think they got a little confident. They were like, Cleveland is supposed to be more physical than us, and they're not. It was Donovan Mitchell and friends. Game 1, I don't know what Karis LeVert was doing. He was basically just doing cardio basically out there. Well, Cavs fans do not like him. They think he's the worst player on earth. I mean,
I thought he was going to be a great player too.
I did too. He hasn't really worked out.
He dropped a 50-piece on the Celtics not too long ago.
That's right.
Maybe like 2-3 years, but still, he had some real potential in his Brooklyn days.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I think that they got really confident. Like, they're like, oh yeah, we can beat this team. It's like, oh, if they thought, oh, we didn't even shoot well, Spider had 38 and we still beat them, oh, this should be a breeze. And now they realize Cleveland's a really good basketball team. You gotta make your shots.
Hmm.
And like, they even play that bad defensively. I mean, they gave up 107. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
a horrendous number. But they got it. That was, I feel like, as bad, as overmatched as they were, I feel like if they had hit their shots, it would have at least been a nail biter.
Okay.
So that's why it was frustrating. So they got to regroup. They got to remember they got to hit their shots, and they gotta bring their A game. Cause I think if they really didn't honestly play their best game one, I'm not sure if they do that. Even if they play even in game one, I'm not sure if they win another game because I think game one may be the worst that we're gonna see of Cleveland.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But if the Knicks do what they can do do what they do best, even if Cleveland at their best, they can win.
Yeah.
They can beat them. Will they? Remains to be seen, obviously. But the frustrating thing is like that they can definitely win the series in 7 games.
Is that a prediction you're sticking with, Knicks in 7?
Yes.
That's fair.
But if they play like they did last night, the series might go 5 games.
Okay. Well, I don't think that's gonna happen. There's no way they lose 2 games in the Garden.
Yeah.
There's no way in
Not
hell
gonna
that
happen,
happens.
but they can't do that again.
Yeah.
And also, they should, like I said, he should have pulled the starters.
100%. That's Tibbs though. I think he learned that from Doc Rivers too. I remember there were a couple playoff games. I think Ray Allen literally played every minute back in the day. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and the Suns beat the Clippers 120-109. Booker had 38 points and 9 assists. Kawhi had 31, 8, and 7 in the loss. So Suns even up the series.
Suns had a big surge in this game. It looked like the Clippers were going to handle it, but then they came roaring back that big 3.
Yeah, and probably about a quarter and a half in, I thought Clippers were up by like 10. Clippers will look like the better team. They're going to go up 2-0. And Chris Paul effect, not in effect, I guess. What's going on? And then they had that big run to end, to kill them to the half, and that gave them all the momentum that they needed. And of course, they ended up pulling away in the second half. KD was just, they were setting up KD in the mid range. He was hitting mid ranges left and right. Devin Booker had a huge game. Even DeAndre Ayton was helping out. Even Chris Paul to an extent was helping out. By the way, Chris Paul
did
has
very well.
Chris Paul has finally beaten Scott Foster.
I didn't even know Scott Foster was reffing this game. 14
straight losses. He had lost 14 straight. He has finally beaten Scott Foster.
Wow, that's amazing that actually happened. I can't believe that.
I don't get it. He's not a good ref, Scott Foster. He was very good friends with Tim Donaghy.
Yeah, which nobody ever talks about, which really should get brought up every time his name is mentioned.
I know the NBA rule that he was not involved, but he was good friends with.
It was before every game that Tim Donaghy reffed. He called Scott Foster, and they had every time it was a 40-second to 1-minute phone call, and then they hung up. That right there is enough to tell me Scott Foster was heavily involved in whatever Donaghy was doing.
Maybe he wasn't actually throwing the games, but he had to have he had to have knew about it. He
definitely knew about it. He probably had some money on it. I don't know if he probably didn't do it to the extent of what Donaghy did, but still.
Yeah, he probably would have been like, hey, if he probably at least told him something like, hey, if you ever get in trouble, if the people who the big not the mafia guys, but the
more or less,
in the documentary, the one guy was a mob guy. No one can tell me otherwise. If the mob guys are coming after you, or the league's eyebrows perch up I got you. That at least had to have happened.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chris Paul finally got by him. He shot 8 for 14 in this game, 16 points, 8 assists, which is all they need from him. They don't need him to do a lot.
Chris Paul at this point, he's not the guy that's going to be able to give you 25 points and 10 assists anymore, and still defy the odds at his age. He's not that player anymore. He's a guy that's going to give you 15 points and 8 assists now.
Yeah, and what the Suns did in this game was they played very well. I just don't know how sustainable this is, because their big worry was obviously their bench. When they made the trade for KD, they didn't really have a lot of people on the bench, and they didn't have many great defensive players. But KD 25, Torrey Craig 17, DeAndre 8 and 14, Chris Paul 16, Devin Booker 38, only 13 points from their bench. I don't know if you can do that 3 more times. I know Kevin Durant obviously is capable of 38, and Booker's capable of 25 in the same game. But is Torrey Craig going to give you 17 3 more times? I don't know. And it is frustrating because the Clippers played quite well. I mean, Kawhi had 31, 7 and 8. Westbrook had 28, 5 and 5. He shot 9 for 16 too. He was very efficient.
Yeah.
And for a game like that from Westbrook, which doesn't come around too often, an efficient, effective game from him at this stage in his career at least, and for that to go to waste is a bad sign. But I mean, going to LA 1-1, I'm leaning more towards the Clippers being able to pull this one out, even though I do think the Suns are just the better team.
I think if the Clippers had Paul George, they would win the series, honestly. But not having him, first of all, the Clippers should be embarrassed how they built this team around Kawhi and Paul George. Why?
It was already it's just a massive mistake.
It's big mistake. First of all, they gave up too much for Paul George.
Oh, definitely.
They gave up too much for him. It just looked like who have around outside of Norman Powell. You know, Russell Westbrook. I think if you put shooters around him, he can still be a decent playmaker, a decent 6-man number 2 point, like backup point guard. But like Nick Batum is
so old.
Is like 50 years old.
19 minutes, 0 for 4, 0 points last night.
He was terrible last night. Amir Coffey's nothing. Reggie Jackson's nothing. Terrence Mann's nothing. So I like Zubac.
Yeah, Zubac could have given him more. Bones Highland couldn't have given him more. He had 6 points.
Yeah, Bones Highland's pretty good, but this team needs more around those two. And now Porter is out again.
Eric Gordon too. Why do you have Eric Gordon on this team? Eric Gordon's played 32 minutes. He shot 4 for 12. 4 fouls.
Eric Gordon had 12 points in the first quarter of game 1, and then since then has been a ghost.
He's 34 years old. I thought he was like 60. Eric Gordon.
I mean, yeah, he probably, the last 3 years in Houston, he probably aged about 16 years. Yeah. He's been in the league 15 years. I think it feels like he's been in the league 15 years for the last 3 years, because I was like praying for the Rockets to trade him. He did not belong anywhere near the Rockets. That was like you look on his face. There was sometimes he's looked like, can you just cut me at this point? Like I don't care. Like I'll go play overseas at this point. It's what his face looked like. But yeah.
And from the Clippers' perspective, like Eric Gordon's obviously a little more proven, I guess, than somebody new. He can't shoot. But, like, you got to get a Bogdanovic. Find not any of them. Just find some Serbian who you know can jack up threes rather than 34-year-old Eric Gordon.
Like, you got Kawhi and Paul George. You got 2 guys who...
And Kawhi's been looking like Toronto Kawhi these first 2 games, at least.
Yeah, you got guys who are great scorers, can both shoot the 3, both great defenders. They play both ends. Put shoes around them. Put defenders... Add some more defenders. And the guys they have aren't that. I don't understand.
Yeah, I think Zubac is an effective big man to build around Kawhi and PG. I thought Pat Bev fit with that team, but I mean, like you look at the bench, the Highlands, the Terrence Manns, the Coffeys, the Powells, none of them they're just like a rung below of like the role players they need. Like you need a rich man's Norman Powell, a rich man's Terrence Mann, but they just don't have all the pieces there.
Yeah, like I like Norman Powell. I think he's a guy that can give you 15 points off the bench. He's a good scorer, good shooter. Zubac is a nice big man to have. He's a great rebounder, can score inside, really good rim protector. Outside of that, there really is nothing.
Yeah. And Westbrook is just a wild card.
Westbrook can give you 10 to 12. He's still a good playmaker if he has shooters around him. If he, in the right fit, he can be a good 6-man. I think this is a good fit for him.
I agree, yeah. But this is the first time since probably OKC that I've been happy with. Or like maybe the Houston year wasn't that great actually. Probably since OKC that I'm comfortable with his role.
He didn't fit in Houston. He definitely didn't fit in Washington. He really.
I don't think he cared in Washington.
I mean, I wouldn't care either, but yeah.
Neither would I. Yeah, that's fair.
Neither of those. He earned stats, nothing else. Which he's. By the way, I know people slang him up for stat panic. He definitely did, but he's not the only guy.
No, not at all. I'm a Celtics fan, and Tatum does it too. He stays in much longer than he should when he wants to get a 40-point game. So, as long as he stays healthy, I got no problem with it.
Exactly.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, but yeah, this is the first time he's really fitting her. But like, Amir Coffey's not very good. Reggie Jackson's washed. Terrence Mann's not very good. Nick Batum's been washed for like 6 years. Like this.
I did not play coach's decision. Covington and Marcus Morris Sr. Those are like 2 other guys that have been in the league a long time, and but they're gonna play to like the same level of your Terrence Manns and your Amir Coffees.
Yeah, and also Ty
Both
Lue.
those guys are so old too. How old is Rocco now?
Who?
Robert Covington.
He's got to be
32. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also Ty Lue. He'd be like, oh yeah, he won a championship in Cleveland. No, LeBron, Kyrie, and
Yeah.
Kevin Love won a championship in Cleveland.
Yeah,
Ty Lue stood there.
I couldn't care less about a coach that was with LeBron, except for Spoelstra. Honestly, except for Spoelstra. I know Spoelstra's a good coach. Everyone else, prove it somewhere else. And Lue hasn't proven it for me. Mike Brown's proven it for me somewhere else. Ty Lue hasn't.
Like I think a little overrated. He's not a bad coach. He's a good coach. He's a decent coach, but he's very mediocre. Like, so you're telling me Nicholas Batum was like 64. You're running him out there with no problem. He's going 0 of 6 from 3. But Marcus Morris isn't even playing. Like, I'm not saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Morris is great, but like, yes, if when Batum puts up that in 19 minutes, I'd be like, just give it a shot with Morris. Especially because he's got a little attitude, a little more effort. Batum's just a shooter.
Yeah.
Morris does a few more things, and he's a little bit of a tougher defender, I feel.
Yeah, Marcus Morris, he's, I think, a decent 3-and-D guy on your bench. He can still probably give you maybe 10 to 12 points, maybe give you 3 threes. He's a good defender.
If you really need it, he can give you 10.
And, like, even, like, Covington, I mean, I don't think he's giving you much.
Nah.
But I would rather play Morris and Covington over Amir Coffey and Nick Batum.
I agree with that. Yeah, like Plumlee played 14 minutes. I'd give a shot to Covington before I give it to Plumlee. In all honesty.
Yeah. Like it's Mason Plumlee, right? Like.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, Mason.
Like he's a serviceable backup big guy. He's an okay backup big guy. But
yeah.
Again,
but at 33 years old, playoff minutes. That's something wrong with your roster construction there. If Mason Plumlee's getting playoff minutes.
Not constructed well. I don't love what Ty Lue's done there. Yeah, and this. I think if Paul George is there, they might be able to will themselves past the Suns because the Suns put like if they have a full season with KD, Book, CP3, and all these guys, I think the Suns would probably go to the finals.
They'd probably be the number 1 seed if they had full time to gel and everything because they're
With-
still a threat to go to the finals. And KD played 7 games in the regular season with the Suns. So I mean, they're scary just based off of talent. They could go on the run, but they're still putting things together, and they don't have a bench. So I'm rooting for the Clippers, but I still have a hard time seeing it's tough.
Yeah.
I'm probably still gonna stick with my pick of the Suns though, unfortunately.
Yeah, like the Suns didn't have a lot to put this together. I mean, 20 games. Like I said, if they had a full season, it would be probably a unanimous pick them going to the final. But because they had 20 games to put this together. KD only played 7, 8, 9 games. They're just as flawed as every other team in the West. Every team is a flaw in the West. Denver, it's Jokic and nobody else. In Sacramento, they're too young. Memphis is low young. Jazz had his other places. He's hurt. You got the Clippers still have Paul George. Not enough around the Paul George and Kawhi when he is healthy. The Lakers still have enough depth.
Golden State can't win on the road.
AD's bound to get hurt. The Suns first of all, KD, you never know. KD could get hurt. They didn't have enough time to gel. But yeah.
And we said it a couple weeks ago too, where we went through the list of the teams in the West, and we said neither of us believe in any of these teams, but somebody's going to win it.
Yeah,
somebody's going to surprise us. Yeah.
That's why I think Sacramento might just slip out because
it's possible they're just young and have energy. And if anybody can win marathon series after marathon series, it's probably them.
Yeah, and you look at a team like, all right, let's say Memphis comes out. Memphis isn't scaring me. They still need not having Steven Adams and
that's huge.
Even Brandon Clark, even a guy like Brandon Clark is a guy. They don't have him either. But yeah, and just they don't have any playoff experience. I mean, they got there last year, but they got their ass kicked by Golden State.
Yeah.
But so. And like the Lakers, I don't think AD stays healthy. I think the Kings win the series. And you get to the conference finals. At that point,
I mean, anybody could be in this conference finals.
You're like, they could lose to Phoenix. Is Phoenix even gonna be there?
Yeah.
If it's the Clippers, I think they beat the Clippers. Paul George might still be hurt. He might get hurt again. Kawhi might get hurt.
I will give credit to KD. I don't really like the guy, but every time he's been injured, he has come back and he's been himself.
Yes.
Right away, too. There's been no, rehab time. On the court. Like, it's not like Klay Thompson wasn't himself for 6 months,
Yeah.
and then he started to play like himself. KD has come back right away and played like himself, but still, I think he's kind of an asshole.
He is.
Yeah.
He's soft.
So soft. Thin skin.
Very
Sensitive Cindy.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so that's what we got for the NBA. Before we wrap this up, I want to do a quick hockey segment. So Ryan, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the Boston Bruins?
They were really good.
Yes, they are.
Bergeron is going to miss game 2.
What's going on with this? It was a bug.
Apparently, all the guys got sick. And, I mean, they were fine for game 1, obviously. But still, and now Bergeron, I don't know if they disclose what the actual injury is as of right now. It's still just the illness that swept through the locker room. Can they win the game without him? Yes. The dangerous thing about the NHL playoffs more than anything else is it's like the Super Bowl or Game 7. Anybody can win it.
Yeah.
Which is the great thing about it and the frustrating thing about it. Because I want to look at my Bruins and say, record-setting, best regular season team ever, and it means next to nothing when you get to the NHL playoffs, which I remember it happened with the Tampa Bay Lightning a few years ago, where they did those amazing regular seasons, and they got swept in the first round.
Yeah.
So I can't put it past my Bruins for similar things to happen to them. They got game 1. I think they'll get by the Panthers, but I'll admit that with hockey, you're always scared, which is one of the great things about the Stanley Cup playoffs, why they think they might be the best playoffs in all of sports. But when you win 65 games, I'm still confident that they'll go deep. Can they win it all? I don't know, because this is the hardest one to predict.
Yeah, the hockey playoffs are definitely hard to predict, Obviously, they're cup or bust. Most wins ever, most points ever. They clinched the President's Trophy with like a month ago in the year.
Pasta's one of the best in the league.
Yeah, they're 25 points clear of the next team, something like that. Pasta had 60 goals. He would be the MVP if Connor McDavid wasn't.
If he wasn't a god.
If Connor McDavid wasn't playing on like rookie mode, like in the video games, dude's crazy. Omark's probably the best in the trophy. He's my pick. Jim Montgomery's my pick for Coach of the Year.
I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious with Montgomery.
So like at the most wins ever in a season, most points ever in a season. President's Trophy clinched out like months ago in the year. They're like 25 points clear of the next best team, which is the Carolina. They have Pastrnak was probably the second best player in hockey this year.
Mm.
They had the best coach in the league, the best goalie in the league, the best roster in the league. They're amazing offensively. They're one of the best teams offensively. Really deep, really good defensively. Great goaltending. They got everything.
Yeah.
There's
in the matter of
win the cup.
when they moved on from Rask, which I felt was overdue. I thought it was clear early in his career that you couldn't win with him in goal. Mm-hmm. And for them to just come out with Ullmark and Swayman so seamlessly over these last couple of years, it's been just remarkable that how well this team has gelled together. And Montgomery coming in too without Cassidy. They've just turned it around so easily that it's just these little changes. It's all that, not little, but they're significant changes, but sometimes seemingly routine changes that can make this big a difference.
Yeah, and like this is a team that had been not floundering, but just been like stuck in mediocrity for a few years.
Yeah,
and then
because they went on the run and lost to the Blues in the Garden, Game 7, 2019 Cup, and the last 4 years before that, and every year since then, they were just there. Like they looked good, but you couldn't. You could never believe in them. It just felt like an accident waiting to happen.
They were good enough to win a series, not good enough to make a huge run.
Yeah, nobody really, even in Boston, I don't think really believed in them to go anywhere, as before and after that run, and because I still think they really, in some ways, are still recovering from losing Game 7 home ice in the Garden.
Yeah,
that was brutal. Yeah, but they got a chance to right those wrongs here, so it'll be very exciting.
Yeah,
hockey playoffs last so freaking long too. It's like 3 full months.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like, so Tuukka's career kind of fell apart. He ends up retiring.
Yeah.
They bring in Ullmark. People didn't like it. They're like, all right, we need to go. Like, all right, you're giving Ullmark $20 million. People thought it was an overpay. Is he really that good? And last year he was good but not great. People were like, oh, he's especially I know a lot of Bruins fans that were not a fan of him. They knocked him. Then they fire Cassidy. You're like, oh, now everyone's looking at Don Sweeney.
Yeah. And I liked Cassidy, but it made sense.
Yeah, like at the time, people were like, "What? Cassidy's been to the playoffs every year. He's been there. He was in the Cup final. He took over his team mid-season. a bunch of years back. When they fired Claude Julien midseason, and he's done a good job. He's never missed the playoffs in 6 years, and now you're looking at the team that they built. Besides that one line they got with Bergeron, Pasta, and Marchand, you're like, there's no secondary scoring. Defensively, they're not good enough. You overpaid Omar. Now you fire Cassidy. They're like, people are now pointing that at the front office, but now all of a sudden you're like, you see Bruce Cassidy, he goes wherever he went, and he went to where? Vegas?
Sounds right. Yeah, pretty sure he went.
All right, so he's done a great job as well, Bruce Cassidy. But you're bringing Montgomery, a guy who last time we saw him, he was coaching in Dallas, and he got fired for I think he had like a drinking problem or something.
Yeah, there was something going on with Montgomery.
And then he had to go to he went to rehab.
It was a good story.
Yeah, it's great. He goes to rehab, got himself together, came back as an assistant somewhere, got the Boston job, and they've been so much better. So now the front office actually looks like a genius. First of all, Linus Olmark's been unbelievable, and replacing Cassidy with Jim Montgomery has been the right move.
Yeah, Olmark 40 wins, Swayman 24.
Yes,
I mean, the proof's in the pudding.
So and now that you look at they actually built a really good team. They basically got Gordon Hathaway, who's a solid third-line player. Dmitry Orlov was a solid defenseman. Tyler Bertuzzi was a great player, top 6 forward. They paid for Craig Smith and a bunch of draft picks. And
I remember when the trade went down, everyone was like, "Oh, they're all going for this. they're actually going to be aggressive."
And they just got Taylor Hall back.
Yeah, toward the end of the year,
Hall MVP, he's still a great player.
Yeah. Yes. So even working back, it's like he's still out there. He's still going to make an impact that can't be replicated in some respects from guys, whoever else he had on the bench. They aren't going to be able to do what he's bringing up, even coming back from an injury. So
yeah. So Boston looks good, but it's cover bust for them.
Oh, 100%. Like, I don't care. When you're this good in the regular season,
it has to be.
Don't talk about like, oh, they're still working back. They're going to be good next year. Especially in hockey, I don't care. When you have a team this good, you have to capitalize right away. There's no guarantees of like, oh, well, it was a building year. No. When you're this good and you can win it, you have to win it.
And they push Olmark to the middle of the table as a trade.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I mean, we all knew. I mean, obviously, they were the best team in hockey. Obviously, when you're that good, the goal is going to be a Stanley Cup. But yeah, like, also, the team isn't like, they have some young guys. Obviously, they just locked up David Pastrnak. They got a bunch of older guys. Bergeron's older. Marchand's a little older. Still fantastic players, but they're a little older. They have a mix of young guys. You got Pastrnak. Jake DeBrusk is still there. McAvoy, Grzelcyk. But they also, like...
Love Grzelcyk.
Yeah, they also have some older guys, so, like, there's no guarantee they're going to do... I mean, first, like, I don't know if anything ever does what the Bruins did again in the regular season, and the chance of being... They may not even be, like, even top 3 in their conference next year. They'll be in the playoffs, obviously.
Yeah. Like, the drop-off won't be, like, so significant, but there'll still be a drop-off when you're this good. Yeah. And like I said about the age... Bergeron 37, Krejci 36, Marchand 34.
They've Krejci.
Taylor Hall's 31, so he's no spring chicken.
Who?
Taylor Hall.
Yeah, Hall's older.
Charlie Coyle 30, Grzelcyk's 29. But so a lot of guys on the wrong side of 30 right there, and deep on the wrong side of 30 too. Yeah. So and like your locker room guys too. The guys you rally behind, the reliable guys who have been there before. And like, so that's the thing. Like I thought 2019 was the last chance they were going to have with these guys.
Yeah.
They got another one with them in their mid to late 30s. So this is going to be the last one really that they have a chance.
It's very rarely you have a team that was getting old in 2019. Your last chance, you get to the cup, lose, and get another shot to win the cup with the group. Now they're even older.
Yeah.
And so, this might be their last shot to win a cup with this core.
Yeah, because a lot of people also thought when Chara left, they weren't going to be able to replicate what he could bring to them. But, I mean, this year has been the best year I've ever seen the Bruins play, outside of 2011, obviously, when they won the cup. So,
yeah.
How do you feel about your Rangers up 1-0 right now?
Amazing game one. They won 5-1, completely dominated. Kreider had a couple of goals. Adam Fox has 4 assists. They look great. They played great defensively. Igor made the saves when he had to. He made 27, 28 saves. I feel confident. I picked the Rangers in 7. You got 2 teams that are very good offensively, both very deep. I think both are, like, okay defensively, but the Rangers have the better goalie.
Mm-hmm.
Igor is arguably the best goalie in the league. He's incredible. This year it's Olmark.
Yeah.
The Eagles were the best goalie in the league last year. When it comes to who I trust in the postseason the most, it's still Vasilevsky for me.
Okay.
But I would say after him is Shesterkin. The Rangers' defensively in the playoffs this year, honestly, they were pretty bad in front of them. Igor, he was probably exhausted.
He's just on another level.
He was probably exhausted after every game. I felt bad for him. Even when he got pulled twice against the Penguins, like he was giving up a lot of goals, but it's in front of him. They were atrocious, so bad.
Who would you rather win round one, Rangers or Knicks?
Wow. Wow. I'm split because I want to say the Knicks because the Rangers have a really good young core, so I don't know if they'll be back next year.
Knicks have a good young core too.
Knicks have a really good young core as well, but the Rangers they've proven they can build a sustained winner. The Knicks have not.
Okay.
This does feel different for the Knicks. I think they're finally building something well, but you never know. It's the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if I lose, the Rangers. I cannot fathom the feeling of losing to Philadelphia, especially since I live with Justin and Liam, who you guys have both seen on the show. They're both Devils fans. They will never let me hear down until the Rangers beat the Devils. So, I don't know.
Were the Devils heavily favored in this one, or was it felt pretty even? Okay.
I just
know they had the better record.
I would probably say the Knicks, just because, although I have confidence they'll continue to improve, I don't put anything past the Knicks. But I know for a fact the Rangers will make the necessary adjustments and be back next year. Okay. The Knicks, I think they will, but you never know with the Knicks. So
especially because 2 years ago they looked really good, and then it went downhill last season. Exactly. Now they're back up again.
Yeah. So and also the Rangers were in the East Conference Finals last year. The Knicks last year didn't make the play-ins, and the Rangers they've been in the Stanley Cup in my life. They were in the Cup final in my lifetime. They've been in the playoffs most of my lifetime. They were in the conference finals last year. We're 2 wins away from going to the Cup. And but the Knicks, the last time I've seen him go to the playoffs probably 4 times.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen him come out of the second round.
Okay, so that makes sense. So your reasoning behind the Knicks is that it's better for the franchise if they keep moving forward. The Rangers are going to be fine wherever they are, win or lose. Yeah,
and also if they lose in the first round, it's all right, they were in the conference finals last year. They know they have it in them. Knicks lose in the first round. It's okay, they went from not making the playoffs for 8 years, and then they get 2 first-round exits, plus a horrible year in between, and it's not that inspiring. And the first year they were in the playoffs was in the shortened year.
That was a good question, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't. That was a great question.
That was a moral question.
But yeah, so the Rangers look great. They got Game 2 on Saturday. It remains in Jersey. And then going back to the Garden's going to be a lot of fun.
That'll be rocking.
Yeah,
and also whenever, and I noticed especially from Celtics Bruins that whenever both the hockey team and the basketball team are in the same, not just in the same arena, but both in the playoffs at the same time, it's heightened for both atmospheres because everybody's already amped up for the other team that it transfers over, especially when it's in the same building as both the Gardens are. Yeah,
and also after the Rangers won Game 1, obviously all us fans were happy. After the next one, Game 1, you see that video? Oh my god!
Yeah. I love outside the Garden videos when they win.
They are hilarious.
It's awesome.
I mean, because the Rangers have been good for the most part for a long time. Like I said, they were in the East Conference Finals last year. Knicks have been horrible for almost 25 years.
Yeah, more or less.
But you could see like when the Rangers do well, it's nothing that new.
Yeah,
and when they
don't, they're that kind of franchise.
Yeah, and when they don't, they're confident that they can bounce back. Knicks do well, it's oh my god, and then
it's always shocking when the Knicks do well.
Yeah, when it's the Rangers don't do well, right? They can bounce back. When the Knicks don't do well, it's oh, here we go again.
When the Knicks made the finals, I think the '99 lockout year.
Yeah,
that's the only a lockout could lead to that happening. That the Knicks made the NBA finals that year with who was the best player? Sprewell, I think.
Yeah, Young was hurt.
Yeah, that's right, and he was older too.
Yeah, and that was right after Jordan had left the Bulls, and they were an 8 seed, and they had a Cinderella run.
After Jordan left the Bulls, the league was just the Wild West, especially the East. Yeah, because I'm trying to think who. Like Reggie Miller's Pacers were in it. J Kidd's Nets made it twice. The Knicks, yeah, it was open season over there. Nobody knew what to do. It was up for grabs.
Also,
what a wonderful time for the league.
Yeah, part of it was Kobe and Shaq. It was who was playing for second.
Yeah,
together
most of the time. Yeah, but no, that's awesome. That especially the league is just better. Both leagues, just all sports is better when Boston and New York are doing well.
Yeah,
and that's what we have right now. So it's a really good sign that, especially come playoff time, that both these teams could be, for the next month, maybe even deeper into the summer, both these teams could be playing and both these markets are in the conversation. That's just great for sports.
Definitely. All right, that's all I have for you guys. Ryan, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And until next time, so long. Have a great day.